at Connie Mack Stadium in Philadelphia with a jam-packed crowd of nearly 30,000 fans making his way in here to see this ball game between the Brooklyn Dodgers and the Philadelphia Phils. At the moment, the Phils and the Dodgers are lined at County baseline. The Dodgers on the first base side and the Phils on the third base side.
Yeah, it's card number 131 from the 1953 Bowman Color set. It's Connie Ryan. And I'll tell you what, that video and that card almost made me forget about how pissed off I am at the Phillies right now. Here it is again. Here's Connie Ryan. Young guy looking happy to be on a baseball team, looking happy to be at an away game in the Polo Grounds. Let's take a look at the back of the card. This is one of those cards where Connie didn't do a whole lot, and so there isn't a whole lot to say about him. He was the second baseman for the Phillies. Connie appeared in 154 games for the Phillies in 1952. One of its national leaguers, one of the only national leaguers to appear in all of his team's games that year. 154 games, guys. 154 games was a full season. And that's really all there is to say about Connie Ryan. But, hey, it's a nice-looking card. If it's card number 131, you guessed it, it's session number 131 of Card Room Live. And I'm taking this extra long pause just to weed out anybody who thinks this is a show. It's not a show. It's a hangout for fellow vintage collectors. Every now and then we have guests, but whether we have guests or not, we're always wasting time talking about old cardboard, and through it all, we try to make it time well wasted. If you're here with us live, welcome. Welcome to all my fellow YouTubers. Welcome to the commenters, the folks from Instagram, the folks from X, and all over social media land. If you're new here, don't be afraid to say hello. This is the live stream where everybody knows your name, and if we don't know your name, we soon will learn it. Yeah, guys, it's the live stream where we're not afraid to be quiet. If you're listening to this later, you might be going to or coming home from work or sorting cards or looking at eBay or rolling out those meatballs or walking the dog or sitting on the john or putting the kids to bed, or maybe you're wondering if Eddie Wakis will come up. It's entirely possible. It happens sometimes. You might be wondering what other kind of Mike foolery we're going to get into tonight. Whatever you might be doing or whatever you might be wondering, I do hope you get something out of it. If you want to get in touch or you have ideas for future sessions, guys, you can email me at bowman53channel@gmail.com. You can also find me on Instagram, Bowman53_Alex, on X, 1953 Bowman Color, and on Blue Sky, Bowman53. And of course, all that information can be found in the description below. This session of Card Room Live, guys, is brought to you by Wilson Frank's Hot Dogs. Yes, Wilson Frank Hot Dogs. Free autographed color photos of famous big league stars are now available, guys, in every pound package of Wilson Certified Franks. Just think of it. The wonderful Franks that you can get at famous ballparks like Comiskey. You can start collecting a set of baseball cards. Just ask your mom to get you some Wilson's Certified Franks tomorrow when she heads to the grocery. There's one in every package. Ted Williams says that they're the best cards he's ever seen, and I'm 100% certain that Ted Williams was not paid off to say that. And I still think it would be really fascinating if you asked your mom to go buy some hot dogs And in particular, if you asked her to buy Wilson Frank's hot dogs because there were baseball cards in there, you might get an interesting response from your mother. So, what's up, everybody in the chat? Let's do a quick roll call and see who is here. We have a wrench holder. Don is letting everybody know that you should please leave your crummy, dirty work hat in the car before entering the bar. I appreciate that, Don. It's because Don doesn't want to have to clean up after the dirty hats. Tonight is going to be the exciting conclusion of the crummy hat contest. Rocket Rick J18 is here. Rick, good to see you. Welcome to you. Jacob is here. Another wrench holder. Mike, the sports history collector, is here. Jay Hawker is here. Dan, Vintage Baseball PC, is here. Rob, the baseball time traveler, who put out a great video recently, maybe a day or two ago, with some ideas about new ideas, new upgrades, new approaches that he's going to be doing on his channel. So Rob, I am looking forward to that. And if you guys have not checked out Rob's latest videos, you should head over there and check that out. Let's see, Sports Cards is here. Let's see, whoever else is here. Jason, Everyday Card Collector, is here. Bring in the sass. Ross Loves Cards is here. Ross definitely loves cards, and it comes through on his channel. If you haven't subscribed to Ross's channel, look up Ross Loves Cards and subscribe today. I checked out a recent video that Ross did, and it was a kind of a shoot from the hip, straightforward. I think it was one card, and he just kind of showed that card and talked about why he liked that card, a little bit about that player. It went right to the heart. Ross, you did a great job. I'm looking forward to seeing your channel continue to grow. Sammy Thunder is here. Can't get away from the live streams. What's up, Sammy? Drew, the Clean Cheap Shots, is here. Who else is here? Mike Good is here. Peacemaker Cards is here. Pastor Craig is here. Mr. Reese Indy Card Ranger is here. Ruben is here. Hodges 1455 gave the video a like. I'm not sure why, but I appreciate it. Warren D in the CLE is here. J Average Vintage Collector. Dan's getting some interesting ads from the algorithm. Peter B is here. And I mean, I guess I set myself up for that, right? I could have just not said anything, but I had to open up my mouth. Max Jackson is here. Reverend Steve's Cards is here. I'm not sure I'm familiar with your channel. Welcome to you. And of course, Mookie's here with the sass. Let's see. Orlando is here. Good to see you, Orlando. Hall of Famer Psyched on Baseball Cards. Tony is here. What's up, Tony? Good to see you. Killer Brew 3 is here. Good to see you. Mike is asking the eternal question, and I think this question is going to start to come up more and more. What happens when we complete the set? I love the opening and enjoy the music. Do we start with Bowman 54? That's an interesting theory. I'm not going to say anything about it, but I think that's going to become more and more of a thing as we get closer to 160. It's totally not a hangout show, Orlando, because that's not what we do here. We just hang out. There's no show. Kurt in Brooklyn is here. Rick, Vintage Oddball Cards, is here. I could keep going all night. Larry is here. Wakus always does find his way onto the screen, doesn't he? Ted Williams, Wilson Frank's card is now worth more than that company ever made. Yeah. I don't know if that's true, but I think it'd be worth trying to find out. Mitchell, White Sox fan card collector, is here. Yeah, you got it, man. Melissa is here. And Rick Acosta, Dodger card collector, is here. All right, guys. We got a great group of folks in here. Great to see you all. What are we going to talk about, guys? I've got absolutely nothing planned. We can talk about baseball cards. We can talk about YouTube. There's been a lot of chatter about YouTube in the past few days. I'm happy to chat about that if you want to. I'm happy to put the live stream link in the chat if anybody wants to hop in and share some cards, share some stories, chat. There will be a contest conclusion at the end of the live stream tonight. Probably last 10, 15 minutes or so is when we'll get to that. So if anybody's like on the edge of their seat about winning the Crummy Hat contest, you're going to have to wait just a little bit longer for that exciting conclusion, but that's definitely happening tonight. There have definitely been some YouTube hot topics. We can talk about Don. I'm always happy to talk about Don. He likes the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Pirates swept the Phillies. So there's that. Cardboard Coach Neil. Let me try that again. Cardboard Coach Neil is here. What's up? I'm going to put the link in the chat if anybody wants to jump in and say hello, show a card, share some thoughts, whether it's about cards or YouTube or the hobby. If anybody has any cards that they've been looking at recently that they're interested in, sets, Topps, Bowman, regional, food and beverage, rare, scarce, pre-war, whatever it might be, I'm happy to pull up the old eBay or an auction house or Google and share some cards and look some stuff up. I have not bought a new card, a fresh card for the collection in months. And like so long that I honestly don't even know how far back it's been, but it's definitely been several months. Not for any particular reason. I mean, I have been busy. I've had other stuff going on. I'm not disinterested in getting cards. It's still definitely on the radar. I haven't lost the passion or the drive to complete PC ideas or get anything. It just hasn't happened. And to be honest, I kind of like that that's possible, that I don't feel this sort of strange self-inflicted addiction or need to get something. Maybe not everybody has that issue. I'm just sort of glad to discover that I don't feel that self-imposed pressure or addiction to get something. I have been enjoying what I have. I walk into this room whenever I have a chance to walk in this room and I see my display and, sometimes I just pass by it. I don't necessarily have a lot of time to stop and look at it, but I definitely see the cards and appreciate them and don't feel the need to sort of get something new in order to get that same appreciation from the set or from the PC. So for whatever that's worth, it just kind of came to my mind. But it has been on my mind to kind of get back on the saddle, so to speak, look at my wish list, get back to jumping on eBay, looking at auction sites. And with that in mind, I thought maybe we could look up some cards. So if anybody has any cards they want to look up, feel free to drop those in the chat. I know I've really dragged it out, Mookie. I apologize. Not really. Tony says I could throw my ace cap under my car and drive over it a few times. You could, Tony, if you were that driven to win the contest. Technically, the entry time has passed, but I'd make an exception for you, Tony. That's right. Mitchell is hard at work on a new card room. I've been blessed to get pretty frequent updates on how that's going. It looks great. He's taking his time with it. I think he's doing a great job with it. And there's something. I feel like there's a lot that's similar to building a collection when it comes to like building a card room. If you're going all out like Mitchell is right now, you want to get it right. You want to take your time. You build it little by little. You make choices, and slowly but surely it comes together, just like a PC, right? 6 months and counting. 6 months and counting. YouTube just played an ad during the live stream. I did not realize that. Well, it's totally worth hanging on after that ad to stay around for this live stream. The ugly hat winner will get their prize in 9 months. Thanks for the vote of confidence, Don. Iowa Dave did an interesting show about a bunch of guys who are fighting the hobby addiction. So, that's definitely an evergreen topic that's worth bringing up. Hey, I appreciate it, Mitchell. My room's not at all done, and it sort of paused last year, maybe. Y'all can only see one of the walls in here. One of these days I'll get back to finishing it, but it's sort of on pause. Jacob asks, is that the T206 book in the back? Yes, it is. The Eagle Eye. Ugh, there it is, right there. I changed that book out today, actually. Do we need more Crummy Hat stories, Drew? I don't know that anybody can top yours, to be honest. Mitchell says, I'm only searching for Diamond Star, so don't ask me for suggestions right now until I'm done with the set. Got you. Yeah, I understand that. I still am, absolutely. I don't think that'll ever change. I don't think I'll ever sort of say, you know what, I'm done with New York, guys. I'm selling it all off. I can't stand, I just can't ever see that happening. I might, there might be ebbs and flows to that. Like right now, but I'm not collecting. I'm not collecting that PC because I'm not interested in it. It's just not on my radar right now. But yeah, I love building that and being selective about which players and which teams and which events. So that's definitely still in the works. In my mind, Drew is still in that phone booth. He joins live streams from that phone booth. And it actually worked, which is pretty amazing. Is it really, you guys are getting ads during the live stream? I'll have to look into that and figure out how to turn that off or bypass it. I apologize for that. Diamond Gems 45 is here. Anybody else attend the Midwest Monster Show near Indy Friday or Saturday? Anybody in here go to the Midwest Monster Show? Yeah, my New York project stops at 1957. There's nothing amazing about New York after that. I'll just leave it at that. Jacob says, I still want to finish my 1960 Topps baseball set. I'm about 100 or so cards left until it's complete. Fantastic, man. How long have you been building that? That's a great looking set. It's a fun set to look at. 1939 Gaudi Premium Mel Ott. Jason, you know about that. My Mel Ott wish list. I'll have to add that to the. I'll have to look at that and see if I want to add it to the list. I still have not found that card, by the way, but I honestly have not been looking very aggressively. One of these days, though. Chris from Missouri is here. Another wrench holder, Stuke Baseball Cards and Curiosities, is back to Minnesota. Welcome, Stuke. Your winnings from the wrench holder contest, Stuke, are in the mail. So, Don, you can eat it. Let's see. Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. They're not amazing. They're not amazing. No, I'm just a vintage collector, and I like that. I mean, obviously, 60s and 70s, and to a degree, I think 80s and hell, even 90s can be considered vintage in some respects. Although I understand why the hobby doesn't consider that vintage. But no, I'm very firmly in pre-war, all the way up into the 50s. I think eventually I will dip my toe into the 60s and 70s. And in fact, I do have a wish list of post-war stuff that goes into the 60s and 70s. I don't really look at it that much, and I haven't really talked about it on here. Of cards that I do like, and that do include, Seaver and Nolan Ryan, for example. But I'm just so into those particular eras right now, and I'm not getting bored with them, for lack of a better way to say it. So I don't see myself going into the 60s or 70s too much anytime soon, but who knows? We'll see. If I see someone in a phone booth, I assume they're negotiating a ransom. That's great. Yeah, I mean, I love all cards too, Warren. I can't collect all of them, and so I like to be super nitpicky about what I'm actually bringing in. But that's just my own tick, I guess. Did I miss somebody? David from Arkansas, joining for the first time. David, welcome to you. If you don't mind my asking, David, do you collect? And if you do, what do you collect? And do you have a crummy hat? And if so, what's your crummy hat like? Yeah, no, I know. I get it, Mitchell. I don't mind saying that the Mets are not amazing. In fact, I look forward to saying it, especially when they're in first place. It's like, no, not that amazing. Is that a trivia question, Stuke, or are you actually asking, is the 1977 Topps the only Ryan Seaver combo card? Okay, cool. Vintage St. Louis Cardinals. Well, I don't know that there's a ton of that on YouTube. So, David, if you're at all thinking about it, you should definitely consider starting a channel, because I think there's a definite need to see some vintage Cardinals on YouTube. Jacob says the 1960 Topps high numbers are killer price wise, I'm looking for eye appeal, low grade mostly. Fair enough. So are you collecting it graded or non-slabbed? Does that matter to you one way or the other? I mean, I certainly ran into the same thing when I built the 53 color set. And I understand the hesitation to purchase cards from a set that have extraordinarily higher prices, perhaps than the average price of the rest of the set, when it seems somewhat, like it's not a Hall of Famer. It's just because it's a high number card. Therefore, perhaps it's more scarce than, or there's less printing of that part of the set than another part. But the thing that I decided when I decided to build the 53 Bowman color set was that I didn't think about that set like individual cards, and I still don't. To me, that set is the whole set. And like, yeah, I know, like, obviously I can appreciate the individual cards and the Hall of Famers and this and that, but I built that set because I loved that set as a whole, and that in order to enjoy that set, I wanted to build it in its entirety with a certain condition. So I didn't really care. I mean, obviously I cared, and I definitely hunted for deals, and I built my set slabbed, which I would not do now just because of affordability. But I built it slabbed, and even still, I would look for like lower grade cards that were in the condition that I wanted. So I cared in terms of the economy, the economics of it. But my goal was to build that set and to have a uniformity in terms of how it looked from top to bottom, because that was what I wanted to appreciate. I wanted to appreciate the set as a whole. And so if you're going to do that, you have to, if you're going to build a set, you have to know going in, I guess, what you're in for, because you're going to have to get cards that are not big names. They're going to be people that no one's heard of, so to speak, and you're going to have to pay. You're going to have to pay for it. But if you can get over that hump and you can, really hunt and do your homework and be clever about it, you can get around those hurdles. And I don't know, there's something really, to me, as I've said many times before, something really satisfying about completing a set. Dan, I'm both flattered and I apologize at the same time for this comment. Yes, and congratulations to you, Dan, for that card. That's a card where, at least for me, when I got that card, I kind of feel like, all right, I've reached some sort of milestone in my experience of getting cards. Like, I just love that card so much that I don't know how to express it. It's just it's a special card to have. Orlando says most of the high series cards are getting expensive, 67, 71s, and 66. But people do build sets. Yeah. Jay says, love the 67 set, but the high numbers are crazy. Set collecting isn't dead. But I heard it was dying from, set collecting has always, at least from the time that I've been aware of collecting in the hobby and other collectors and YouTube, set collecting has always been the minority. There's a handful of people on YouTube that I can think of over the years that show sets or are actively building sets. That's always been the case. I do think it's gotten harder as prices have gone up. like I said before, if I wanted to build a set right now, I would change my approach compared to how I did it however many years ago that was. But I still think people are building sets. May not get as much of attention, but it's still happening. Let's see what else is going on. Building sets is for insane people. Yeah, Max. Max being one of them, and your avatar, your icon here, really like is hitting home for this comment. For anybody that doesn't know, Max built the Beast, so he knows a thing or two about building sets. And yeah, I would agree. Like you have to be, you have to be a little crazy because, yeah, like Mitchell, you said this earlier tonight. You said, don't talk to me about other cards because I'm really trying to focus on the Diamond Stars set. You kind of have to, if you're going to do it, I suppose you could do it over a lifetime if you just sort of, picked at it over time. But if you really want to do it, you kind of have to put some blinders on and really focus. And I did that when I built my set. I only got like one or two non-53 Bowman color set cards when I was building that set. But I didn't do that. Like that sounds painful to some people or like really strict. I never thought of that as a rule. I was having so much fun getting those cards and accumulating the cards and building a set that I didn't really care about, deviating from that. Commons are half the fun of collecting vintage sets, especially as you collect pre-war sets. Yeah, I totally agree. Commons are fun. I always shout out Drew from Clean Cheap Shots, who does a great job of highlighting the interesting stories that some of those quote unquote common players have. Pastor Craig, same with me in my set build for 62 and 69 football. Pretty focused. Yeah. It's fun. You can go down the rabbit hole of a set and really enjoy it. Mookie just hit 80 of 240 and 49 Bowman set. That's fantastic, man. 49 Bowman, that's a set that I would consider building, hypothetically. Peacemaker cards, just 3 cards away from completing the 67 set. How about that? All these set builders in here. Great. Orlando, are you working on video for the 1909 E95 Cobb? Yes, sir, I am. I think I mentioned this briefly last time. I have a little bit more free time than I've had in the past few months. Not much, but a little bit. And so I have been able to sort of focus on that a little bit more. I worked on it here and there this past week. I've gotten to the point where I'm mostly done with the research and I'm in the timeline now, finally. I had some fun this past week finding the photographs and things that I want to use. And on a side note, I've been having some trouble finding archival photographs of Royston, Georgia, which is where Ty Cobb was born. So I should reach out to Drew, Vintage Legacy, but curious if anybody here has any suggestions beyond like a Google search for photographs of Royston, Georgia. It's hard to find in like, let's say the early 1900s. Not surprising because it is a really, really, really small town, a rural town. So I wouldn't expect to type in Royston, Georgia, or vintage photographs and get the same amount that I might get for say New York or something. But I still couldn't find a whole lot. So just gonna throw that out there if anybody comes across anything or has any suggestions. But yes, Orlando, I'm working on that, having fun with it, and hopefully I'll get to work on it a little bit more next week. It's not going to be done anytime soon. Maybe, I don't know, maybe in a couple weeks or so. But I appreciate you asking. Rick, people who say set collecting is dead have never attempted to build a vintage set. Yeah, I think that's fair enough. Yeah. It's not for everybody, right? Like we all say that everybody collects differently, and what somebody's into perhaps is not, somebody else's cup of tea, and that's all good. But yeah, I would agree with that. It's just not big on YouTube, but that doesn't mean people aren't doing it, right? Yeah, and sometimes I have to remember, like, there's a big wide world out there. There's a lot of, I heard somebody say this really recently, like, there's a ton of freaking amazing collectors out there that are not on social media at all, with some of the most incredible collections. Or they might be on social media, but they're not on YouTube necessarily. So there's a lot going on that we're not necessarily talking about here. Let's see. Vintage sports card collector. That's a very straightforward and to the point name. I like it. I struggle with set building. I love the idea, but I end up electing to buy lower grade, ungraded cards to make it happen. If only buying key cards, I'll go for nicer graded copies. Yeah, it's tricky. So you have to sort of like come to grips with that, especially because every set's going to be different, right? If it's a huge set, if it's filled with like extremely expensive rookie cards, if it has weird quirks in it, if it's, my set was pretty, relatively easy to build, 160 cards compared to some of these sets, which are massive. So, there's a lot of stuff to consider. I would guess there are more set collectors now than ever before. And Alex's point about common prices supports that. I'll accept that comment. That's right. I'm a big believer. I mean, we call them common cards, and I sort of accept that term, and I don't think we're going to be able to change that term as much as we might want to. But I always feel like there's nothing common about the common card, right? The not so common card. Yeah, you got it. I'm like way behind here. I think you guys are like 10 minutes ahead of me. Rocket Rick is actively building sets. Good for you, sir. I just want to mention Tony Psyched on Baseball Cards, who is one of the channels that like first comes to mind when I think about YouTubers building sets. I've watched Tony build, I think, 2 sets over the past, maybe 5 or 6 years now. And Tony would not just get the card, but he would also like tell a story about each player, a little bit about their history. And it was great because I got to feel like I vicariously got to experience building that set just by watching Tony build that set. And, that to me that's like primetime YouTube stuff for me. Jason is distracted. Classy Sports Cards is here. Football Vintage is still undervalued. I don't know much about football vintage, but I always hear that, and I'm sure it's probably true. You know what? The E95s are beautiful cards. They don't get as much attention. I know Jerry Big Six always talks about how much he likes the caramel cards. I think they're beautiful. They're great. Get in touch with my guest on my last show might also be able to help. With regards to what, Dan? I may have missed the timing of when you said that. Oh, about the Royston thing. Okay, that's probably what it's about, right? I could go to Royston, right? Some of you guys are saying, like, why don't I just go to Royston? That's a lot. I mean, I love my YouTube video. Do I love it enough to go to Royston? I mean, I want to go to Royston. I don't know that I have time to do it right now. That's an idea. I don't know. We'll see. How much do I love my YouTube video? How much do I care? How much effort do I want to put into that video? That's the real question, right? Mike, the Franklin County Chamber of Commerce. Thank you. I should seriously just write or look up some of these places and ask them. They would probably be thrilled to get to like do something and look up some pictures, right? Or perhaps I just have to get access to an online database that I'm not seeing. Max Jackson, most of the stuff I buy these days will make me look even more insane. They did it different over in France and Germany. I do not know how much interest there would be. But for me, it's fun to snag that stuff in between big baseball buys. Yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying, Max. Like, and I think we all kind of do this. It's good to have two or three different things that you're after to keep, to kind of rotate and, keep the variety alive. There he is, Jerry, the Big Six. What's up, Jerry? I love this. All my cards have value because I value them. That's a really great way to say it. Urban Steves, I think more set collectors show up as more sets are discovered and are talked about. That's true. Like the more, and we all play a part in that to some degree as well, whether it's YouTube or Instagram or wherever, the more people are seeing certain cards, the more knowledge they're gaining, and the more likely somebody falls in love with a set and decides to build it. David is here. My first vintage set was 1964 Topps Giants. That's a very popular set to build because it's reasonable. And like you're saying here, it's affordable, which are two really great, attractive qualities for a set to have, right? Everybody bring your families into the room. We're getting close to the crummy winner. I can't believe it's 8:40 already. I'm so far behind here. Let me... Thank you. Yes, Dan, I will reach out to you about that. I finally put 2 and 2 together. Well, I'll tell you what, guys. Since we burned through that time somehow, I'm going to do a roll call of all the crummy hats that I got just to give all these folks and their hats some love. In total, I got 18 total crummy hats from 18 members of our card collecting community. I was going to say YouTube community, but like honestly, I got some YouTubers in here. I got some people from other social media platforms. I got some people in here that submitted crummy hats that are not on social media outside of comments and chat banter in Cardroom Live. So I feel like it's a nice little slice of the community as a whole. So I want to take a moment to say thanks to everybody who took a moment out of their day to snap a photograph of their terrible hat and send it to me. So without further ado, let's take a look at these caps first, and then we'll do the drawing. And I'll read these off one at a time. First up is Anthony P. Anthony, I do not believe is on YouTube, but he is sometimes here in the chat. And always listening, and sent me a very nice email with this submission. So Anthony, thank you for participating. Next up is a hat that I'm sure everybody recognizes because you see it quite a lot. If you're watching YouTube, it's Mike Baseball Collector's cap, PSA cap that has been through the trenches. Mike didn't share any stories, but he didn't have to because we've seen this hat for years now. Jerry was the only person to share his hat during a live stream, and he did this last weekend when Jerry hopped on the live stream, and he shared his cap as a veteran. So Jerry, thank you for your service, and thank you also for participating. It's not a crummy hat in the least. And then we've got this guy. Everybody knows this guy. Don, revel in the weekend that your Pirates had. The state showdown was taken by the West this time. I mentioned this last time. Drew from Clean Cheap Shots has a fantastic set of stories to go with his A's cap. which I will not ruin here. You should definitely head over to Clean Cheap Shots and look up this video where Drew shares the history of this cap. In addition to being in a phone booth, that if that's not enough to draw you to Drew's channel, I'm not sure what else you need, but you should check that out. And Drew, thank you for participating. Drew, a Vintage Legacy, who is somebody that I definitely get along with in terms of his collecting style and just for his love of the Brooklyn Dodgers. So, Drew, thank you for sending this through. This one is from Keith, Lonely Basement Baseball Cards. Let me make this a little bit bigger so you guys can see it. Yankees cap. This is another cap that I'm sure we see on YouTube whenever Keith wears it. Yankees fan. Here's one from Kurt from Brooklyn, not a YouTuber, but a frequent guest and chat room participant of Card Room Live. Kurt, thank you for participating. It's nice to see a Detroit cap in here. I just got this one today. This is from Mark from Dodgers Cards. And Mark had a fantastic story behind this cap. Mark, I'm not sure if you're here or not, but the gist of this was that Mark wore this cap during a Los Angeles marathon that he ran a number of years ago, and actually got injured but completed the race, which was a bold and brave and courageous thing for him to do. Except he told me that he regretted it and took weeks, maybe months to recover afterwards. But he has this cap as a little recollection of that experience. So Mark, thanks for sharing your cap. One of our rule breakers, Max Jackson, who's just always living on the edge and breaking rules and throwing up his finger to the man. 2 San Francisco caps, as if one weren't enough. Another Brooklyn Dodgers cap. This one from Mike, sports history collector. Another Brooklyn Dodger fan. Another wrench holder. And here's another rule breaker, Mookie, with his non-sports related cap, David Letterman cap. It definitely looks like it's been through some things. It even looks like it has an oil stain. Were you changing the oil with this cap, Mookie? You can just say yes. And I had to include the second picture because if it weren't crummy enough on the front, you can definitely see that Mookie has found a way to hold this cap together with some makeshift handiwork on the back. It's like a thread holding it together. So Mookie, thank you. Here's another crummy cap, another Dodger cap. This is from Rick Acosta out west. This cap definitely looks like it's seen better days, or maybe its best days are ahead of it. I'm not sure. Thank you, Rick. Here's an especially ripped up 2006 Division Series cap from RJ and Jake Cards and Comics. Thank you guys for sending that in. And another wrench holder, Stuke, just sent this in fairly recently. A nicely faded, well-worn Twins cap. I mean, it's almost white. It's almost faded to the point of becoming a white cap, which is amazing. And then I got this one, another cap from another YouTuber that I'm sure you guys could guess. It's Warren D and the CLE. It's definitely got some wear and tear on the sides. And it's old enough that the team's name has changed, although that didn't happen that long ago. Warren, thank you for sending that in. And our last cap is from Yank Me Card Collection from Doc Van Hoot, who sent this in. A Mickey Mouse cap that definitely looks like it's been through some things. So it's 8:50, guys. Thank you all for sending in those caps. It's time to spin the wheel. Let's do this thing. I used to do the old-fashioned when I had like VR contests and stuff. I used to do the old-fashioned pull the name out of the cap, but I didn't have the patience to write everybody's name down. So we're going to do this the digital way. It's the spinner. I've got everybody's name in here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to spin it 3 times. I'll spin it once. I'll take whoever's name is chosen. That name will come out. I'll spin it a second time. That person's name will come out. And on the third and final spin, whoever's name it lands on is the winner. So here we go. And I don't have any music or anything. We're not that fancy here. Round and round and round it goes. Mark, Dodgers cards. You are not the winner. You're going to get removed. But thank you for participating. Here's spin number 2. Spin number 2. I should have pulled that out of a crummy cap. Yeah, I don't have that kind of time right now, guys. Mookie, you're a winner in our hearts, but you're not the winner of this crummy hat contest. All right, here we go. For the win. For the win. Exciting. Could be anybody. It could be anybody. It's Kurt from Brooklyn. Congratulations, Kurt. You are the winner of the crummy hat contest. I'm writing your name down just in case somehow I forget, which could happen. I will be in touch, Kurt, if you're here with your prize. What's the prize, you may ask? I have no idea, but it's going to be great. It's going to be great. And it'll be apropos. And I may ask you to hop on the live stream when you actually get the prize. Maybe that's what we'll do. Second runner-up if Kurt fails to fulfill his responsibilities. Yeah, exactly. It was the cap. It was the cap, Kurt. It had nothing to do with sheer luck. It was the cap all along. Well, guys, it was fun shooting the shit with you all, as it always is, for an hour. Just to give you guys a sense of what's coming, I have actually made a conscious effort to plan ahead a little bit for the next couple of months. Cardroom Live is a little booked. We've got some fun stuff coming up. I mentioned this last time, but I'm just going to I'm going to kind of keep it vague for now. But just to give you a little bit of a taste, we've got some vintage magazines and sports programs coming our way. We have some vintage Philadelphia athletics coming our way. We have some Negro Leagues PC material coming our way. We have some discussion about displays coming our way. And of course, there's Hobby Palooza, which I guess people have not really been fully talking about yet. But and I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say it or not, but I don't think anybody's too surprised. I reached out to 4 collectors and asked, actually, John reached out to me and said, hey, do you want to keep your spot? And I said, absolutely. So I'll be on Hobby Palooza, and I'm working on what that will be about as well. So for the next couple of months, there's some stuff planned. This might be the last sort of absolutely nothing session for a little while. So there's some good guests and good stuff planned, but don't worry, we'll still be wasting time talking about cardboard nonetheless. So if you enjoyed this live stream about nothing, guys, give it a thumbs up. It's always appreciated. Tell your fellow collector. to come hang out and join us in the chat, because everybody is welcome. Head over to Four Collectors, guys. And until next Sunday night, have a great week. Take care.